The hospital wing shuddered as another plasma bolt struck the outer shield barrier. Torvik's growl rumbled deep in his chest, his amber eyes fixed on the corridor entrance. The young Vraken cub, no longer so young, but not yet grown, positioned himself between the doorway and the medical pod where Lyra Kane lay unconscious. "Easy, Torvik," whispered Mira, the smallest of the three cubs Lyra had saved. Her silver fur bristled as emergency lights flickered overhead. "She can't hear us yet." "Then we listen for her," Torvik replied, his claws scraping against the sterile floor. 6 months ago, Lyra Kane had been just another xenobiologist stationed on the frontier colony of Threshold 7. The Vraken, a feline species with intelligence rivaling humanity's, had recently made contact, wary but curious. When a meteor shower destroyed their settlement ship, killing most of the adults, it was Lyra who had rushed into the burning wreckage. The structure had been collapsing, support beams groaning like dying giants. Colonial authorities had ordered evacuation. But Lyra had heard them, 3 cubs mewling in terror. Trapped beneath debris, she'd gone in anyway. She'd pulled out Torvik first, his leg crushed. Then Mira, barely breathing through smoke-filled lungs. The third cub, Kessin, had been pinned beneath a fuel cell that was seconds from rupture. Lyra had lifted it with strength born of pure desperation, her vertebrae cracking under the strain, and shoved Kessin toward safety. The explosion had caught her as she tried to follow. Now she lay in the pod, spine shattered, neural pathways slowly regenerating through humanity's stubborn medical technology. The doctors said she'd walk again in 3 months. She'd already been healing for 3. Then the Jurath arrived. The insectoid species had been humanity's rivals for decades. Cold wars fought over territory, resources, ideology. Today, they'd decided Threshold 7 was strategically valuable. Their warships had appeared without warning, and their ground forces were systematically dismantling every defensive position. The hospital was supposed to be neutral. The Jurath didn't care. "Movement!" hissed Kessin, the largest of the 3. His black fur melted into shadows as he took position on the opposite side of Lyra's pod. 3 sections down. Multiple hostiles. Torvik's ears flattened. Through the chaos of the attack, through the screams and explosions, the Vraken cubs had refused every evacuation order. Human soldiers had tried to move them. Medical staff had pleaded, but the cubs had bared their teeth and stood their ground. Lyra had saved them. Now they would save her. The first Jurath soldier rounded the corner, chitinous armor gleaming, plasma rifle raised. It saw the cubs and chittered what might have been laughter. 3 young Vraken against trained warriors? Torvik launched himself with a roar that shook the walls. Humans had always wondered what made their species special in a galaxy full of stronger, faster, smarter beings. They weren't the biggest. They weren't the most advanced. But they had something else, a relentless refusal to quit, a defiance that bordered on insanity, a loyalty that transcended logic. The Vraken had learned this from watching Lyra Kane run into fire to save strangers. Now they would teach it back. Torvik's claws found the gaps in the Jurath's armor, his jaws clamping on the rifle barrel and wrenching it aside. Mira darted low, her smaller frame slipping beneath the soldier's guard to slash at vulnerable joints. Kessin hit like a sledgehammer, his bulk driving the alien back into its squadmates. More Jurath poured in. The cubs fought with a ferocity that stunned the insectoid warriors. This wasn't the behavior of frightened children, this was the desperate valor of those who'd seen someone sacrifice everything and understood, perhaps for the first time, what that meant. A plasma bolt seared across Torvik's shoulder. He didn't slow down. Mira took a hit to her hind leg and kept moving. Kessin's roar echoed through the hospital as he bodily threw a Jurath soldier through a wall. Behind them, Lyra's vital signs remained steady. The medical pod continued its work, knitting together neurons and bone. Unaware, unhearing, she dreamed of burning ships and cubs who needed her. The cubs needed her still. Human reinforcements arrived 7 minutes later, a lifetime in combat. They found the hospital wing transformed into a battlefield. Jurath bodies littered the floor. The 3 Vraken cubs stood in a defensive triangle around Lyra's pod, bleeding, burned, but unbroken. Torvik's growl hadn't stopped. It wouldn't until Lyra opened her eyes. Captain Marcus Chen, of the Colonial Defense Force, surveyed the scene with something like awe. His squad had been fighting the Jurath all day, losing ground, taking casualties. Seeing 3 cubs children by any species measure hold off an entire assault team seemed impossible. "Sir," his lieutenant breathed. "That's Lyra Kane. The woman who saved them." Chen understood immediately. He'd heard the story. Everyone had. A human who'd broken herself, saving alien cubs, expecting nothing in return. "Form a perimeter," he ordered. "Those cubs aren't the only ones who owe her." The Jurath tried twice more to take the hospital wing. Each time, they met combined resistance human soldiers fighting alongside Vraken cubs. United by something stronger than orders or instinct, they were defending someone who'd shown them what they could be. When Lyra's eyes finally fluttered open 3 hours later, the battle was over. The Jurath were retreating, their attack broken by defenders who'd refused to yield. She tried to move, and gasped, as regenerated nerves sent confused signals through her body. "Easy," a rough voice rumbled. Torvik's massive head appeared in her vision, amber eyes soft with relief. "You're safe, we made sure," Mira added, limping into view. Kesson said nothing, just rested his head gently on the edge of her pod. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She reached up with a trembling hand, touching Torvik's scarred shoulder where plasma had burned through fur. "You stayed. You came back for us," Torvik replied simply. "We don't leave Pack behind." Captain Chen approached, his expression unreadable. "Miss Kine, your friends here held off an entire Jurath assault squad. For you." Lyra looked at the 3 cubs wounded, exhausted, magnificent. They'd learned humanity's greatest strength not from speeches or treaties, but from one woman who'd refused to leave anyone behind. "That's not surprising," she whispered, her hand still resting on Torvik's head. "They're stronger than they know." Outside, the colony began rebuilding. 2 species, brought together not by politics or convenience, but by a simple truth that echoed through the galaxy. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology or their numbers. It was their insistence on caring when caring seemed impossible, on sacrificing when logic said to save themselves, on teaching through example that some things, loyalty, courage, love, transcended species, transcended reason. Lyra Kane had run into fire to save strangers. Those strangers had become family, and family, as the Jurath had learned today, was worth defending.